our Across the Aisle segment tonight, Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein admitted she has no evidence of President Trump and Russia colluding. Many Democrats have accused Trump of colluding with Russia, and we talked about this earlier in the show. But this is my question to liberals. If the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee hasn't seen evidence of collusion, what do you know that she doesn't? Let's ask a liberal. With me now, college professor and author of Obama's America, Ian Reifowitz. Ian, good to see you, friend.
Always good to see you, Liz.
All right, Ian, let's start out by looking at this clip of Senator Feinstein here. She's saying she was asked if she'd seen any evidence of Trump or Trump associates colluding with Russia. This is what she said.
Drove over to Langley, Virginia yesterday to CIA headquarters, and you were briefed. Here's the question. And you don't have to provide us with any classified information, Senator, but do you have evidence that there was in fact collusion between Trump associates and Russia during the campaign?
Not at this time.
All right, Ian, there you go. That's my question. You heard it in the introduction. If Senator Feinstein hasn't seen any evidence, what evidence have you seen? What evidence have other Democrats accusing Trump of colluding with Russia? What have they seen?
Well, let's talk about the congressional Democrats, but let's make sure we hold everybody to the same standard, right? What evidence did President Trump have before he accused Barack Obama of wiretapping or Susan Rice of having committed a crime or before alleging massive voter fraud last November?
Well, that I think,
I want to make sure that we hold everybody to the same standard.
Let me interrupt for just a second. Well, no, I agree. Same standard. We should be holding the same standard, equal standard across the board. That I think we cannot accurately know about President Trump because he is the president and he's privy to classified information that we are not, that many people in Congress even are not, that many Democrat politicos are not. But truly, I mean, if the answer is I don't have evidence, please just be honest and tell me. I mean, do you have evidence that Senator Feinstein doesn't?
Well, just to finish the point I had before is that the FBI has countered that President Trump was wrong about President Obama and wiretapping, and same thing for Susan Rice. So I think we should hold the president, in fact, to a higher standard, given the power of the federal government, the awesome power that's behind his words. When President Trump becomes more responsible with his accusations, I think we can give a little more concern for Democratic congressmen shooting off their mouths.
But what about when they go low, we go high? I mean, you don't want to, if you truly believe that President Trump is, making accusations that are unfounded here, what makes it right for Democrats to do the same thing then?
Oh, it doesn't. And I think we've got to call out both of them. And I want to make sure that we do call out both of them. If Dianne Feinstein tells me she hasn't seen enough evidence to say that Trump or his team or the president's transition team have colluded with Russia, then I take her at her word. If other Democrats have said they've seen some different evidence, I'll take them at their word. I think we'll find out, certainly. Maybe we don't know on May 8th, but we'll know when the FBI finishes its investigation. And again, holding everybody to the same standards, the FBI shouldn't really say anything until they have completed their investigation, even when the evidence that comes in is evidence from Anthony Weiner's laptop. I want to see one standard for liberals and conservatives, and that's really what's important to me.
No, I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. I don't think that we have an equal playing field here. I think Democrats are held to a much lower account by the media. You and I talked about that a little bit last week here, but I mean, I don't want to go away. I don't want to vary from my point here. And my point is that Democrats are constantly hurling these accusations. They're essentially convicting Trump of colluding with Russia without evidence. They're saying they're relitigating the election. They're saying, well, Hillary Clinton lost because of Russian WikiLeaks and Vladimir Putin's influence here. And of course, yes, we all agree, Republican and Democrat, that Vladimir Putin tried to wage some sort of disinformation or influence campaign. Nobody's arguing that. But I don't see any evidence that Trump or Trump associates have been involved. Ian, I have to ask, why are Democrats still accusing him of that then?
Well, I think Dianne Feinstein gave a good answer. She said, not yet. And I certainly, I haven't gotten my intelligence briefing yet, so I don't have any evidence, obviously. And I think we're going to find out when we find out. I'm not too worried right now about Democrats disagreeing with each other about how much evidence there is. I think we don't know yet. We don't have any evidence that anything wrong happened, from the Trump team yet, but there's an ongoing investigation from the FBI. And the reason that investigation started was because there was reasonable cause or probable cause or whatever the legal term is to start the investigation. So that means there was at least some suspicion that something was going on. But we don't have any proof of anything yet. Absolutely, you're right about that.
No, we don't. I mean, and it's not just Feinstein. It's also Senator Manchin. James Clapper said he has no evidence. The FBI, as far as we know, has no evidence. And I mean, I commend you for saying that outright. I don't think many Democrats have, or many Democrats would, because in my opinion, they're using these accusations against Trump as a way to impede his policy initiatives during the first 100 days, which to me says that they're not very confident in their own principles because they don't think they can convince the American people or argue their own policies and convince the American people that they shouldn't support Donald Trump on his own merit. They have to go to these unfounded accusations. And as of yet, Ian, like it or not, they are unfounded.
Well, you know, here's the other thing. I don't have too much sympathy for Donald Trump. This is a man who emerged on the national stage with the unfounded allegation that Barack Obama was born outside of the United States. So there's an old saying about the pot and the kettle, and calling the kettle black or something like that. You know, it's always good to have at least one cliche in your pocket. Donald Trump really doesn't deserve a lot of sympathy on that front. Without birtherism, he would almost certainly not be president, James Comey aside.
Listen, I don't disagree with you.
Whose stock in trade is unfounded allegations.
Right, I don't disagree with you. I think it was wrong for him to say that. I said it at the time. I said it when it resurfaced in the campaign. It was an inappropriate thing to be talking about. I don't think it was the right thing. I would never defend him on that. I think because he did that doesn't mean that he deserves less, especially if we're advocating for an equal playing field here. Let me go back to something you said earlier when you were talking about Susan Rice. She won't testify in front of the Senate. She declined to do so, even though a lot of other people are willing to be questioned, willing to take part in this investigation. And does that bother you as a Democrat who's advocated for an investigation into this, who said we don't know yet, but we might, we will know when we know, I think were your words earlier in the segment. Does it bother you that Susan Rice won't testify?
Well, two things. One is, I don't claim to be, you know, have all the any more inside information than anybody else, but I've read in the media reports that Susan Rice has essentially been cleared. That the FBI experts or whoever it is that are the experts here said that what she was doing was routine and part of her job. So I don't think she needs to testify.
Then why wouldn't she testify just to clear it up in the minds of the American people?
Proven. Because, you know, if you don't have to, you don't have to. If you don't need to, you don't need to. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. If she feels satisfied, then that's enough. But there was one other point, just a small point that I wanted to make, which is that you talked about Democrats being held to a lower standard. I really think that that's inaccurate. Given what Donald Trump has been able to do over the last few years, and the fact that he got serious media attention after the unfounded birther allegations being his stock in trade, I would push back at you on the point that that the Democrats are held to a lower standard than Republicans. Maybe we can meet in the middle in here and say we need to hold both sides to a higher standard.
I'll tell you what. Let's talk about that next week. That'll be our topic. Who's held to higher account, and who's being coddled by the media? Democrats or Republicans? We got it next week. Ian, thanks for being here.